in terms of brands, and how is it kind of being measured on your platform?
Everywhere around the world. I'm never particularly looking for designers that purely come out of the Middle East or Paris or Africa. I'm looking for designers and brands that resonate with our customer and our aesthetics. Everywhere I go around the world, there's great brands and great designers. It just so happens that some will be African and some will be Japanese and some will be French. I don't think anyone sets out to just go, right, we're just going to work with this type of aesthetic, but there is wonderful clothes and designers here, and many of them are working internationally, which isn't always the case, and many brands here are, so it's good.
So I want to come back to your personal career. Would you say you've had any defining moments or highlights that you'd like to share?
Defining moments or highlights. Probably getting the job at Matches Fashion. And I think it was last year or the year before, I was one of the most influential women voted for on Vogue or something, which was made me quite happy because I'd flicked through Vogue magazine since I was a little girl, so that was unexpected and very nice.
So there has to be a balance between fashion and clothes that look cool and things that people will actually buy. How do you address that?
Again, thinking about all the different women that there are, what they're going to do in a day, whether they need things that are going to be practical for the office, picking up the kids, and then if they just want to go out and have a good time of an evening, which I really enjoy doing that by quite a lot, looking at all the kind of party clothes. It's good fun. And we're always thinking about the lifestyle of a customer, so what she wants to wear when she goes on holiday, goes to the gym, when she's on the beach, and more recently even maybe what she wants for her home, and thinking about the cushions and the tabletop and everything that she may want when she's entertaining at home as well. So we're really thinking about the whole of the woman's lifestyle, and I want to empower women to feel good about themselves. So you flip quite easily between the practical and the fun.
So part of fashion, obviously, it goes beyond just the clothes that you wear. Like you mentioned, it's also your personal style and how it reflects in your home. Has your role at Matches also evolved to sort of buying and including other elements of style and fashion beyond just the clothes?
Say that again, sorry.
Has your role at fashion
Yeah.
at Matches evolved to include other elements of fashion beyond just the clothes?
Yeah, thinking about their home, thinking about what they want to wear when they're traveling on a plane, when they're on a beach, all of that we're thinking about, yeah.
So we're going to switch gears a little bit now, and we're going to do a lightning round of questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so in 3 words, how would you describe your personal style?
Eclectic, bit of a magpie, and practical.
Okay. When I mention Lagos, what comes to mind?
Warmth. The warmth of the people and the weather, both, yeah.
That's a good one. What's your favorite film of all time?
Rebel Without a Cause, James Dean. I probably watched it when I went to Portobello Road Market, and it really stuck with me, the style of the film and the story of the film as well.
I know you do a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite fashion city? And if so, which one and why?
Paris. I just love Paris. Everybody loves Paris. There's nothing not to love. I never get tired of looking at the buildings, and yeah, it's gorgeous in Paris. Beautiful.
Beyond fashion, what do you see?
I love the arts. I love photography. I love art. I love films. I love music. I love anything that gets my senses going. So food. I'm a creature that enjoys things. So anything that makes me happy, really.
So I have one final bonus question.
Yeah.
Tea or coffee?
Tea. I'm English.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
Natalie Kingham.
Oh, thank you. Thanks very much.
So we're gonna take some questions from the audience. now.
Okay. Oh. Hello.
Hello, Natalie. Interesting session. Thank you for coming. I'm an accessories designer. I make handbags, and I have a stand here. And I didn't hear you talk more, like maybe about accessories and for your store. You walked in with a very gorgeous, like I don't know if that's a handbag or.
I know, I've given them pride of place, haven't I?
Trying to find that. So I wanted to know what kind of accessories that you guys look out to buy. Do you buy handbags for your store? And if you do, what kind of handbags do you look out for? And I like the question about the way you answered the question about buyers in Africa, or when she asked you, and you said you're not just looking for a buyer to come from Africa. A buyer can be from anywhere. You just want a buyer that has a product that fits with your customers. And when I design for ladies, I normally think about what is the woman going to want. You know, I made a foam bag this year. It was a little bag that we sold for so little. And the day we put it up, we took so many orders, and I was like, wow, if I knew this was going to sell so much, I would have made so many. You know, so I want to know what you look out for when you're buying accessories, and probably especially handbags, because I'm the bag queen.
I think when it comes to handbags in particular, there is a little bit more of a science to it. And again, it's about looking at how women are living their lives. So I think a few years ago, we started seeing that women were working and on the run, and so they'd always have their laptop in a bag. And so that quite quickly you think, right, people are going to need cases for their laptop, they're going to need a big bag for their laptop. And then all of that kind of technology shrank. And so all the bags and things did. But also small bags, I believe, are because a woman is carrying so many things around with her, and maybe she's working all day, she needs to take the small bag out because she can't be lugging a big bag all day. So she always has a small bag. So that was the birth of the little pouch, really, the pouch that went into the big bag. I also believe that small bags are a sign of, I don't need to carry much around with me, but it's a lie because we've got the big bag around the back that nobody can see. But we're trying to maybe send a message that we don't need to carry very much, but we all know that's not true. And no woman walks around with a bag this size. So there is a science to it. It's about we're sending messages out to people. You know, this is all I need. I think the boot of the car has got like the biggest suitcase in it you've ever seen, but here I am pretending that's all I need. And I think we're sending messages out to people. So I actually think accessories, it's so interesting. It's the same with footwear as well, because I believe nowadays that high heels are also a sign of, I'm getting into a car, I haven't got to walk anywhere. You're sending a sign out to people when you wear a suit and flat shoes that you mean business. So I think clothes and accessories have an important role of what we're trying to say to other people about ourselves, as well as trying to be practical. But I do think it's challenging with bags. They're expensive to make, expensive to develop. And I think with emerging designers, there's a lot of cost involved when you have a lot of big brands and branding on bags. That's the customer quite often wants to show that they've bought into a big brand, a sign of wealth, which is where I think sometimes accessory brands can struggle and find it harder than ready-to-wear brands to get their brand going. So you did really well to sell as many as you did. Well done.
Okay, so we have some questions in the back.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay.
Oh, at the front.
Good morning.
Hello.
Okay, my name is Nicholas. I'm a fashion designer. My question is this. For your many years of experience as a buyer, what are some of the blunders some fashion designer makes that turns you off when you want to buy? Then secondly, what will you advise an emerging brand how will it position itself to get to the extent whereby international buyers can look out for their products? Because there are some fashion designers that are good with what they do, but probably they are not well positioned for big clients to see them to buy their products.
Yeah, I do appreciate that it's quite difficult to get buyers to see brands and designers. We endeavour, it's a kind of a rule that I have within the buying team, that every email should be answered. If a brand or a designer has emailed you, to send them a message as to why you will be looking at the collection or not. But quite often it is just that people are time poor and that they can't necessarily see everything that they would like to see because they have to buy what they need to buy. So we buy so many 400, 500, 600 brands. So to try and see on top of that, maybe 100 brands to see what's going on out there, it's a lot, and we do a lot. And we don't often have a lot of spare time to keep looking at new brands and feeding back. So in email is really good, but those emails come in their droves daily. So it is difficult to reply to everyone and to see everybody's brands. But I think when we do, that we try to be as, critique as best as we can. Oh, no, they've stopped.
Perfect timing.
Emailing and sending things to people is the best way to really get somebody to look. But if a buying team are doing their job properly, which I know ours is, we will look at everything we possibly can and feedback. It's by doing that we have found some amazing brands and launched some amazing businesses before other people, because we're really passionate about finding newness. But it takes a lot of work and effort. You have to really want to do it. It's really hard. I wish I had more hours in the day, but it's hard to look at everything.
Thank you. We have some hands in the back.
Good afternoon. My name is Romeo Butcher. Welcome to Nigeria, Ma.
Thank you.
I want to find out what are the skills someone should need or something you should do to become a fashion buyer.
What you should do?
Yes. What skills do you need to become a fashion buyer, and how to become a successful fashion buyer? And also, how do a fashion buyer works? Because most of us here, not everyone is a fashion designer. Some people would like to become fashion buyers like you.
Yep.
And also, what are the qualities somebody should look out for as a fashion buyer?
Okay, so probably the first skill that you need is understanding the customer. So I worked on the shop floor, but I also worked in sales. I actually wholesaled a lot of fashion designers to stores. So understanding what I learned, there's lots of things that make a collection desirable to the customer. So you learn that by selling to customers or by working with designers. So I think that's something you need to understand. You need to understand your price points, why something is too expensive, why something works at that price, doesn't work at that price. And that all comes by working with product. Whichever way you work with product, you need to kind of learn that and understand that. Then the skill to being a buyer is basically how do you making money. So I want to sell a dress and I want to sell it for that much. I can make that much money. And how many dresses could I buy to make that much money? So there's a skill with numbers. Now, I'm not very good at maths at all, but I'm good at understanding how to make money. I'm very good at... I spend way too much money. I am always broke, so I don't know how to save it, but I know how to make it and I know how to spend it. And that's what you do as a buyer. How do you do you make the money, and how do you get people to spend it? Yeah, it's like having. I sometimes liken it to having a stall at a market. If everybody's got oranges, then I want lemons because I've got something different to everybody else to sell, and I'll charge you twice as much for the privilege of having my lemons. So it's that on a very glamorous luxury level. I think you also have to have a lot of good people skills and dealing with lots of different types of brands and designers and nationalities. I love people and I love travel. Otherwise, this would be an impossible job if you didn't like those things as well.
Okay, I think we can take about 2 more questions.
Okay. Hello. My name is Adiola. I just want to ask a question. Where's the future of production going right now in terms of country? Because you're a fashion buyer and you're an entrepreneur. So I was asking another question after in terms of entrepreneurship.
In terms of production, I do know a little bit, but that's not. But you wouldn't necessarily know that as being a fashion buyer. But because I worked with many brands before, and because I have my own line, I certainly do understand quite a lot about production, which actually have helped me a lot in this job, because I can understand why a brand, when they're emerging, why you would need to work with them more closely at delivering outside of a normal production window, how factories work, how much they're being charged. So sometimes I work with brands and they've never really dealt with the factory before, and I'm telling them early on to watch out for this, 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 and this, and I'll work with you on a special delivery window because there's no way that factory's going to work with you on what they're telling you. Factories tend to, there's not many left in England. I know that a lot of people are still using France and Italy and Portugal. Factories are...
What of India?
And India, yeah. India's really good for embroidery. A lot of people tend to go out there for embroidery and sequins and beaded work.
Okay, second question, as an entrepreneur. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but to put your business in a very good position, like how much do you need to start and where should you put the money into to have a very good momentum?
What, for your business?
Yes.
What do you do?
I produce apparels, like this is one of my shirts.
You got a factory?
I have a factory, not my factory. I produce in Turkey.
Okay.
So that's what I was asking, like, where's the best place to produce and how much do you really need to, like, pump into the business?
You want to produce shirts?
No, I do produce shirts in Turkey.
In Turkey?
Yes.
I've worked with Turkish factories. When I had my own line, I used to sit in the factory, and there they'd be sewing my things. And I promise you, the moment I walked out that door, my thing came off, and they put somebody else's things under the sewing machine. And I'd come back, and I said, "I knew it. You've taken it off. Put it back." And they were like, "Oh, quick, she's back. She's back." So small runs. I think it's really difficult for people when they're having small production runs, which is maybe 50 of a shirt or 100 of a shirt, when you've got people coming in with thousands. They're always going to deal with those guys, but there are times when that factory's quiet, and that's years ago this didn't work, but it would work today, where you could then be the person that they deal with when they're quiet, as long as you've got a retailer that wants to have your goods arriving outside of a fashion window, which we do a lot, and that's how we work with a lot of emerging fashion designers, because it's the only way they can get their things produced. It's quite challenging. It's a challenging industry, and there's lots of things that are a reason why people are successful, and there's lots of absolutely no reasons why that other person isn't successful. It's just getting all those stars aligned and, fashion aligned and trends aligned. And I do believe you need a good dollop of luck in life, but you need to create it. You need to open your own doors. Don't expect somebody else to do it for you.
Thank you, Natalie. So we're out of time for questions.
Good afternoon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question.
30 seconds you got.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
One quick question.
Very quick. Good afternoon.
Hello.
My name is Cyril. I'm a fashion artist. I paint on clothing. I just want to ask, will you be interested in buying this?
I'll definitely come and have a chat with you. How can I not after that?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Natalie. It's
Thank
been a
you.
really, really insightful discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, Natalie King.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
to the GTBank Fashion Weekend 2019. Put your hands together for your host, Hawa.
Hi, guys. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. It's so good to see you all. But it's not about me this evening. I have a very, very special guest to introduce to the stage this evening. So without further ado, let's introduce Kim Kimbo. There we go. We'll pay the real first? Okay, all right. Hey, Nigeria! Woo! Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just first say thank you to GTBank for this event. Thank you guys for having me. So I want to show you a video really quickly before I go into my session.
I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm currently a student at Universal Beauty College. And in the future, I plan to get a degree in fashion design and have a chain of beauty salons.
When I grow up, I wanna be famous, I wanna be a star, I wanna be in movies. When I grow up, I wanna see the world, drive nice cars, I wanna have groupies. When I grow up, be on TV, people know me, be on magazine. When I grow up, fresh and clean, number one chick when I step out on the scene. Be careful what you wish for, 'cause you just might get it. You just might get it. You just might get it.
Oh, I love that one.
Like it?
So hot, I love it.
You just might get it. You just might get it. Get it.
I am a masterpiece. You are going to shut that red carpet down.
Oh, I seriously didn't think you had it in you.
It's better than a karate chop, honey.
Always wanted to be a superstar. It's killing me, I'm saying it's killing me. The fact that you ain't around, baby, you're falling down. I need me a remedy, been looking for remedies. I need you to be around, baby, I'm hurting now. I know you're a better man when I was your girl. This land is a better land when you're in my world. Today will be better, baby, if it were like yesterday. So happy and lovely.
All I got, all I got, all I got. It's nothing without you.
Careful what you wish for, 'cause you just might get it. You just might get it. You just might get it. Get it.
Thank you, guys. Let me just say I'm so excited to be here in Nigeria. I came a long way from Los Angeles. And what I want to do is, before I go into my demonstration, I want to just tell you a little bit about Kim Kimbo. I came from humble beginnings. Third generation hairstylist. My mother and my grandmother did hair. So I grew up from a dynasty of hairstylists. So of course I was going to come up in the footsteps of my mom. And one of the things that she wanted to do was because originally I was born in Chicago, Illinois. And she wanted to move to Los Angeles so she can work in Hollywood doing hair for movies and film. And at that time, it was really hard for people of color to get into doing that type of work. So it was really hard for her in the beginning. But years later, when I became a hairdresser and I started working, as soon as I got out of beauty college, I had big dreams. I said, I'm going to go work in the most amazing hairstylists in some of the best salons in LA. I went to a couple of them. One was called Simply Raw, and back then, I would tell my age, but back in the 90s, Raw was the name for the salons. So Simply Raw, and they turned me down. They wouldn't hire me. I was very discouraged. And then I went to another salon called John Atchison, which was a great high-end salon in LA. They also turned me down. So I said, okay, I was feeling kind of down about it. And this guy who used to come to our beauty college, his name was Rodney Brimberry, he had a barber shop around the corner from the beauty college. So he said, you know what's wrong? I said, I'm not really being accepted out here to doing hair in these salons. I've been getting turned down. And, out of beauty college, I had all these big dreams of, being that fabulous hairstylist. And so he said, you could come work at my salon. Now, he was in, in LA, in a nice neighborhood, but it wasn't, a fabulous salon. It was a barber salon. And I went to beauty college to learn how to do hair. I didn't go to learn how to cut men's hair. So that was a bit of a challenge, but I took the opportunity. And so I started working in his salon. He taught me how to cut hair, men's hair. And now I was thinking, gosh, I went to school to do hair. I didn't really go to learn how to cut hair. But it was great to learn a new technique. And you never know when you're going to use something. So, and I love to learn, so I started doing the men's hair. But one of the things I discovered is that I started building my clientele with, they would send their wives to me, their daughters, their aunties, their sisters, and I built my entire clientele off of the guys in the barbershop. So that was the first thing. So even though I was in a barbershop, I was able to really build my business there. But the one amazing thing that really happened to me in this barbershop is that I overheard someone mention that this big-time director was doing a film. No, actually, they had already done a film called The 5 Heartbeats. I don't know, you guys familiar with The 5 Heartbeats? Yeah. So they were doing a play to raise money for this church in LA called West Angeles Church. They were building, a bigger church, and I thought, wow, this would be a great opportunity to see if I wanted to expand my skills beyond the chair of doing hair in a salon. I said, even though it was a play, it wasn't a film, but it was a play, and I said, well, I just felt like this was an opportunity for me. So I volunteered, and I think I was the only person that actually really signed up for the opportunity because it was not a paying job. It was free. And I was like, you know what, I don't care. I want the opportunity. I want to grow, and I want to learn. So I went ahead and got the job, did the film, did the play, hair for the play. It was a period piece with wigs and all this cool stuff. And I happened to make friends with the director's assistant. Her name was Charlie Jordan. Now, she made the mistake of giving me her phone number when this was over, because I had plans. So I said, I want to call her and just say, hey, I heard you guys are doing a film coming soon. Would love an opportunity to work on the film with you. Because I did a great job on that, and I really loved it. And she said, no, I don't have anything right now for you. We have hair people. We don't need you. I said, okay. So I gave her like a month or two. Then I called her back. And I said, hey, it's me, Kim. Any opportunities come? And she was like, no, not yet. But she was very nice about it. I said, okay. So I moved on, opened up my own salon in LA. And then one day I get a call out of the blue from her, Charlie, which was the assistant to this director. And she says, do you have any pictures of hairstyles that you've done that are kind of avant-garde and creative? And I was like, absolutely. At that time, I was doing hair competitions, like Bonner Brothers hair show, kind of like flying helicopters and all that crazy stuff. So I showed her some of my work, and she brought them to the director, and he met me, and he looked at my work, and he was like, oh, this is cool. Okay. He didn't really say much, but he was like, this is cool. So then, he says, can you make a copy of this picture, this picture, this picture, and send it to me? I said, sure. Listen, I didn't know what that meant, but I was like, I'm going to do what he asked because, I'm feeling an opportunity coming here. So then he goes, well, what time is your salon, like, not so busy, or when is it busy? He asked me all these different questions. And I was like, well, it's, not busy at this time, and it's busy at this time. He said, okay. So one day, like a week later, out of the blue, he goes, I'm going to come by your salon. And I go, okay. Robert Townsend walks in the door with Halle Berry. I was like, wait a minute. This is pre-Kim Kimble celebrity hairstylist. So my clients weren't used to seeing celebrities come in the salon. So their mouth was open, my mouth was open, but I was like, oh my God. So he walks in with her and shows her pictures, and I go, okay, what's going on? And so he shows her the pictures, and he said, okay, make a copy of this picture, that picture, and this picture, and send it to me. He still hasn't told me anything. I don't know what he's planning on doing or whatever, but I know it's something. So I do exactly what he says, send him the pictures, and then like a week or so later, I get a call from his producer. Her name was Laretha Jones at the time, and she said, would you be interested in working on one of our films? Robert wants to hire you for a film. And I said, let me check my schedule. Yes! And so that was the beginning. The film was called Baps. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Black American Princess. It's called Baps. So it was a film that he did. And that was my entry into the business of, I told him I needed to be in the union. In LA, we have something called Local 706 Union. So that started me on my journey to working in film and television. Then I went on later on to work with Beyonce with the same producer and Austin Powers and all these different movies. So I became a celebrity hairstylist. And so it kind of took me beyond the chair to be able to, expand my skills. But the couple of things that's important, sometimes setbacks are a setup for a come up. And so that opportunity, because if I wouldn't worked at those other salons that I was disappointed about, I wouldn't have had that opportunity that God had waiting for me at that salon, because it was there that I was able to hear about that project, get that opportunity. And so I just wanted to inspire you guys. You know what? Don't give up on your dreams. Keep going. Keep doing your thing, and just trust that God has your back, and He has a plan for you, and He knows what your future is. So now, hopefully, I just want to tell you a little bit about me. I'm going to do a demo, and what I wanted to do was share with you a little bit of what I do behind the scenes of a live photo shoot. So let me just ask, are there any hairstylists in the room? Raise your hand. Are there anybody aspiring to do hair? Hell, is there anybody who likes or interested in doing hair for film, television? Okay. Are there any game changers in the room? Yes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with my first model. Could she please come out? And we have a live photographer here. Please join us. This is Kendra. Okay, come this way. Okay, so now we have a live model. I'm going to bring her a little bit closer over here. And then we have our stylist and we have our makeup artist here. And just so you can kind of get a feel for what it's like to see a live photo shoot. So for me, one of my favorite things to do is editorial fashion shoots, magazine covers. So like some of the things that you saw in my reel, really love that. But what people don't understand is that doing hair behind the chair is different than doing hair on a photo shoot or on a movie. And editorial is all about shape, all about making a shape pop out on a flat surface of a magazine. So a lot of times, you can go over here, please. All right, so what I'll do is I start to create shape. It's important because sometimes flat hair just looks blah and bland, on a magazine cover if it doesn't have any style, which is one of the reasons why we use the fan, because a lot of times it will give the hair movement and structure. Put your head down. Okay, come on this side. Too much fan. Turn it down just a little bit. Let me move you over this way. Yeah, like that. Okay. Okay. All right. Isn't she beautiful? Yeah, so what a lot of times I'll use wigs. This is a wig that we're using. And I like using wigs in photo shoots, couple of reasons. Because one, A, it's great to protect the hair. I don't have to worry about any limits to what I can do to her hair. It won't be damaged or it won't limit what I can do. And a lot of times I can create a lot of different looks with wigs. Yes. And you see how the fan creates a nice silhouette and a nice shape in the hair? Okay, look, the photographer's telling me too much. Okay, so then basically, and this is what I do. I'll come in and he'll give me instruction and I'll do it. And what it is often a collaborative effort. A lot of times, that's why it was important for me to have a styling team because it's the hair, the makeup, the clothes all have to collaborate and we all have to work together for it to be a great look. Okay, so now we're gonna do the next model. Okay, so now again, we did a wig on her hair as well, because a lot of times color is always, I love to inspire my clients to wear color, but a lot of times color can damage your hair, but it's easy for me to convince them to do color when it's not their hair. So again, this is collaborative. Now, one of the things I see, because when I'm doing a photo shoot, I'm studying, I'm looking to see how I can improve this hair and make it better. And I think, wow, this dress is great. I feel like the hair needs to maybe not compete with the dress so much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a change. So I'm gonna take her over here to the chair. Okay. Over here, this chair. And again, you don't ever want to do hair where it's competing or overshadowing. It all should be a great symmetry together. It should never overshadow the dress, or the dress should never overshadow the makeup. So I'm putting her hair in a ponytail. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have her stand up. Okay, can you stand up, please? Turn around. And I'm going to cut it. Around. Thank you. Anybody else want to cut? Anybody ready? No? Okay. So I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. Yeah. What happened? What I missed? Oh, you want your hair cut? I think I got another one of these back there. But this is exactly something that could happen. I've done photo shoots, and in the middle of the shoot, have to completely change the look for so many reasons. Maybe the photographer thought it needed something, or I'll look at it and I'll say, you know what, it needs to do something different. And also, it could be someone, maybe even the artists themselves may want something different. Thank you, Kendra. Yeah, turn this for me this way. No, stay here. Turn your head that way. Yes. Okay, let's walk back over to the shoot. Okay, now she's ready for the photo shoot. So now I feel like she can move freely with the dress and the hair will not compete. A little texture spray in the hair. Okay, turn forward, see? Okay, well, there you go. Now she can do her thing. She can move in that dress. She's got a different look. Oh, the bow, fix the bow. He said, fix the bow, okay. Oh, that's your job. See, we all gotta stay in our lane. Okay, you can actually turn the fan off. Oh, I can fix it. Thank you. This is my job, to come in and fix it. He's there to touch up the shine. Girl, twirl in that dress. Do I look that fabulous? Let me fix this. Thank you. Hey. I love color. How many of you women love color? I'd never be afraid to change or do something different. I think we look beautiful in color. Okay.
All right.
All right, we're gonna bring the other model out and let you guys take one last look. And then we can go into the Q&A.
Yes. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hand of applause for these gorgeous ladies. And well
Actually, I
done,
was needing
Kim.
it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Well done, ladies. Thank you
Yes,
so
and I'm gonna-
much. Thank you. Thank you. Hand of applause.
Yes.
All right. That was really good, Kim.
Thank you.
I saw how you got that cut in just a twist.
You
and
saw
a
that.
snip.
I got to work fast.
Wow.
I love shortcuts. That's one of the things I love to do.
Very, very impressive.
Yes.
All right,
you.
so we're gonna take a couple questions from the audience, but I just wanted to ask you some questions
Of course.
that we might not have touched on. You were talking about adversity and overcoming challenges and how that leads you to the promised land later on. So what other challenges have you overcome? Like, have you had a situation where all the elements did not work as good? Like maybe the stylist wasn't on the same page or the makeup artist wasn't on the same page, you know, because this is teamwork.
Yes.
So how do you work when maybe the team is not as strong as you want or it's not the team that you picked? How do you deal with interpersonal issues?
Well,
in this?
I guess for me, the one goal is for it to all work.
Yes.
So I do whatever I can in my power to do my job and make sure that I do my job well and try to compliment, because maybe if the clothes may not be working, sometimes we may have to do something with the hair to kind of help bring that whole vision to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kim is also the star of a hair TV show. I'm sure you guys have watched it, LA Hair. Can I get a round of applause, please? All right. So we see that on the show there's a lot of drama as well, a lot of good hair cutting. But we have a personal question about Beyonce's hair. Is it okay? How much of it is her real hair? I know people want to know.
A
I know you guys
hairdresser
wanna know.
never tells.
What? You can't? You won't tell us?
A hairdresser never tells. Well, this is the thing. I'll just say this. I'm definitely a well-rounded hairstylist. I work with all types of hair, all types of wigs and pieces. And sometimes creating pieces, you need, you know, recreating hair looks. You know, you need to be able to sometimes use wigs or use hair pieces, because also, too, it may need volume. Also, you want to protect the client's hair.
Yeah.
And then you want to create a look. I mean, everybody wants to slay.
Yeah.
Every now and then, so sometimes a little extra hair gives you a little extra slay.
Okay. And we know that when you go get your hair done, you spend quite a lot of time in the chair. And you talk to your clients, right? Do they sometimes like let off some steam?
Yes.
Are you a little bit of their counselor, maybe? Not really?
In a way, but
Okay.
what I try to always do is steer them back into business and their hair.
Okay.
I don't really try to get too much into their personal, although sometimes they need to let off steam. And I've learned how to let something go in one ear and out the other. So they think I'm listening, but I'm like, but they're like it,
Not
because
really.
you can't always take all of that in.
True.
But, you know, of course, if there is some advice I want to give them, I can definitely give them some advice, or I'll turn them in a direction of where they can go. But I always try to gear them back to their hair, back to, you know, what
Back
I'm
to
doing.
business.
Yes.
All right, let's steer it back to business then.
Yes.
So you make hair products, you manufacture them.
Yes.
How do you juggle all of this, including the TV and the hairstyling and the products?
Well, I don't get much sleep.
Okay.
However,
well,
sleep is
understood.
important, but you know, I'm inspired. I love what I do. I love hair. I love developing hair products. I love developing things. So God gave me this creative energy that I always have to use. And so but I do, balance also is important. So especially too, as you get older, you definitely have to take care of yourself, take care of how you eat, you know, get you some sleep. So you just got to find the time in there. But just know that when you know, businesses and all those things take your attention, and they need your attention. So you're going to have to find that time to give it that attention.
Makes sense. All right. So should we take a couple questions? What do you think?
Yes, we should.
Yes?
And can I tell them what I brought them?
Oh, yes,
Okay,
please.
yes. So anybody who asks questions, I brought some goodies for you guys that you could take home, some hair products, so you can go home and be Kimberlized as well.
Free stuff? Yeah.
Anybody want to be Kimberlized?
Everyone likes free stuff. Free products for you and for you.
Yeah.
I always want to do that, Oprah.
Yeah, I know, me too. I would have probably done that, but trying to bring all that over here. Yeah.
So we'll ask some questions in a little bit, but some fashion moments, some hairstyling moments. I know you showed a couple of them on the reel.
Yes.
But are there any that come to mind that really stick out, that you're like, oh, yeah, this is going to be something. Like, people are going to feel the wave of this Kim Kimble hair. I mean, I know that pink, the pink braids that Nicki Minaj had in the motorsport video.
Yes.
That did something. Girls around here had pink braids for
Right. I didn't realize it was going to break the internets like that.
Yeah, even all the way here. So
yeah, I just had a vision. I said I wanted her to have some floorless braids, and I know how much she loves pink.
Yeah.
And so I had one of, you know, one of my braiders from the salon, it was like a team of people that braided the hair, and it looked amazing. And but it like broke the internet. It was I saw people doing pink braids, and some people putting pink scarves, making it look like braids. And
all the way
kind
to
of
the
craziness.
ground. Yeah,
Yes.
I saw that meme. But
Yes.
any other poignant hair moments that you've had in your career?
I have to say I'm blessed. I've had a lot of great opportunities. I mean, working with Beyonce in Dreamgirls. I love that movie because I love period hair, and I got to do a lot of wigs and a lot of styling. I also loved Lemonade because it was such a great moment for her in terms of it was a visual album. It was like the first. And then they did this movie called Wrinkle in Time a couple years ago.
Oh, yes, Ava DuVernay.
Ava DuVernay, and I got to work on Oprah's hair.
Oh, wow.
Who was one of my favorite people in the whole world.
So can I ask, do you only do black women's hair? Do you only do hair for women of color? Is that your specialty? Or do you do hair of a wide range?
Well, when I went to beauty college, I went to school to learn how to do both, actually.
Okay.
I learned how to do, white hair or Caucasian hair, and I also learned how to do, African American or texture hair. They call it kinky, coily, whatever in the book. But I wanted to learn everything because I didn't know where my career was going to go, but I knew I wanted to do something, So, and it really paid off when I started doing film and television because I've, been able to work with a lot of different people. You never know who's going to come in your chair.
Right.
So hair is about texture.
Yes.
And what you need to learn is how to work with these different textures because everybody in every race has multiple textures in their races. So you definitely need to understand that. And so I learned both. But most of my clients are, of African American descent.
Okay, well, great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take some questions from you. Anyone have questions for Kim? And we also have gift bags to give out to the lucky
Hello,
question
Kim.
answerer. Ooh.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah, my name is Bingbe. Please, what do you do to a breaking hair? Like when you have a hair that is breaking. And secondly, what do you do to a coily? If you want to maintain a coily hair, what do you do to it?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's a great question. So she asked about what do you do about breakage and curly hair? And right now, curly natural hair is really big.
It's in
and
vogue.
damaged hair is really a big thing. So it all depends on what the damage is coming from. So a lot of times people have improper use of chemicals. They may not know how to relax hair properly or use color that will cause breakage, or they use too much heat in their hair. That could cause the problem. Or they have improper wig and extension installs.
Right.
So the first thing, you got to make sure that those things are being done properly. I know a lot of people find things on YouTube, but you got to really be careful when it comes to your hair because it can cause a lot of damage.
Right.
So what I do is my clients, first I'll kind of assess what is causing the damage. I'll ask them questions, and then I'll treat their hair based on what the damage is coming from. But one of the things I can say, and this works for damaged hair and it works for curly hair, hydration is the key. Keeping your hair moisturized, hydrated with oils, with conditioning mask, conditioners that are very moisturizing and hydrating. You definitely want to use that even in curly hair because our hair is curly, the oil doesn't travel down the hair shaft like if it's straight.
Right, right.
And so it'll get dry and brittle and break. And even in natural hair can break when it's not really hydrated or moisturized. So you always want to use products that don't have alcohol in it.
Okay.
Sulfate-free shampoos are really great, and co-washes are good because a lot of times these shampoos have, detergents in them that will dry the hair and make it more brittle. So
Okay.
just always remember, really keeping the hair hydrated, clean, and not damaging it with too much heat or chemicals.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yes. A little long-winded, but.
Good evening, everyone. I want to ask, meeting a
Oh, hi.
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 Yeah. I want to know, meeting a client for the first time, how do you connect with your client to know the person and how to style according to the person?
What's for me, when I first get a new client, what's very important for me is my consultation time. Whether I'm working with somebody in the salon, whether I'm working with a stylist or an actress on set, I have to go through my questions. I have to ask them questions, and I have to listen, and then it will tell me a lot. So I'll ask them about, what do they do for a living? So I kind of know what type of style, how active they are. Do they work out? A lot of things I want to know because that's going to help me assess how to give them the best service or hairstyle for them.
So you meet with them ahead of time? And
Yes, I try to.
Meet and greet.
And if we don't, we do it over the phone. And I'm definitely a picture person, and thank God for the internet. Because I always have them send me pictures to show me what they want, because sometimes clients and stylists don't speak the same language.
Yes.
They'll say, oh, I want a graduated bob. Well, they won't even say that. I just want a bob like, a bob. But there's several types of bobs. There's graduated, there's one length, there's, all these different types of things. So a picture will help me understand what they want.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you for that. All right, next question.
Are they getting their products? Are they getting
Oh, you guys are supposed to get bags.
Yes.
Hello, you guys. I'm sure they'll handle it. There we go. All right.
Good evening, Kim.
Good evening.
It's nice to have you here. Okay, I want to ask a question. You said something that you finished, you were done with college when you were going to that to learn from the barber shop. I wanted to ask that. How did you feel, being, that's not actually what you wanted. Just like you said you have big dreams, you want to do this. Just like young people coming up, I want to do this, and you are not, it's not really, it's not what you are saying.
Right.
It's not like you came out from school, everything was rosy, there's a job. But you want something big, but at the moment you're not seeing it. How were you able to, bring, just like you said, there must be a collaboration. How were you able to find what you were looking for, the vision?
Right.
Manage your dream expectations.
Right. Well, you know what? Because sometimes, when you get there, things might not happen right away. It's a process. What I did was I prepared. I said, okay, I'm going to accept this. I'm going to learn how to cut hair, because I was open to learning how to do men's hair. But I was preparing myself. I'm still preparing myself for what's to come. Yeah. So I actually started taking classes. I started honing my skills on cutting hair and learning how to color, because I knew one day the opportunity would come. And that's the one thing, when you believe it, you have to visualize it, you have to see it. I knew something was coming, and so by me preparing for it, that's like using my faith. Okay, I know something's coming, I'm getting ready. Because you always want to stay, my mother says, stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. So you always want to continue to prepare yourself, and just, while you're waiting for that answer, you just, you do your best. You learn as much as you can, take on as much as you can. Maybe even try to find a mentor of someone you can work with, just so that you can constantly get prepared for that next step. And that'll keep you busy, because it kept me busy. I almost forgot that I wanted to.
Very well said, very well said. Yeah. Where's the microphone?
All right. Hi, Kimbo.
Hello.
It's nice having you here. I'm a very shy person, but when it comes to hair, I'm not shy.
Right, me either.
Because I'm a stylist. All right, I want to ask, what's the name of the spray you applied on the model's hair?
Yes. Oh, it's back there.
You took your toolkit.
I took very much, but I know exactly what it was. It was part of my Kimbo product line. It's called texture spray.
All right.
Dry textured. So what it is a mixture of dry shampoo and hairspray. And so a lot of the products that I make, we make products for, curly, natural hair. We make styling products because I love to do photo shoots and things like that. So I make products that are going to, also that people who want to have that look can create that look at home as well. So it's called dry texture spray.
All right, thank you very much. Why is it that you didn't teach us how to make one here?
So, I'm sorry?
Make one what?
one of your products.
Ah, bah, now.
When she say what?
Chill, this babe. She said, why don't you teach her to make one of your products?
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you for that one. Next question.
Okay. Hi, Kim. Thank you for being here. First of all, it's really amazing to see a woman of color here.
Thank you.
And on that note, my question was like, have you had any like major struggles being a woman of color? I know this might not apply a lot on the continent, but in the U.S., have you had many struggles being a woman of color, doing so many big things in your industry? And my second question is, how much are you involved in like natural hair, like just, you know, or how big do you see that part of the industry rising?
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
So I'll answer that one first about the natural hair. I mean, natural hair is so big in the U.S. Everybody has.
Yeah.
What's amazing is I love the fact that people are embracing what God gave them. You know, they gave them this beautiful hair, and they've learned how to work with it in a way that it looks great. And I mean, I also love all types of hair. I love wigs. I love natural hair. I wear natural hair. I also wear wigs and braids, and I wear everything, actually. But I think that I'm definitely involved in it. We make hair care products for natural hair because it's such a big, booming business right now. And so the second question was...
being a black woman in the industry.
Oh, yeah, that one.
And doing all these big things.
Oh, that one. Yeah, you know, let me just say, I am definitely a risk taker. I will go out there and I will, you know, take risk and I'll do things. Has it always been easy? No. When I first got in the business, see, my mother didn't actually get into the film and television till after I got in.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was very difficult. It's difficult to get in anyway, even for anybody, because it's a union that does film and television.
Okay.
So you have to get someone to kind of bring you in anyway, and Robert Townsend was the person who brought me into that. But what I will say is that you know, people would look at me and be like, well, they would think that I didn't know what I was doing. I've had people try to tell me, and when I started in the business, I actually started as a department head, like running the entire department. So even like years after I've been running departments, people would assume that I didn't know what I was doing. But I've department headed films before. I'm not new at this. Or they would assume that I was related to, if like I had a star request from a celebrity, that I was related to them. And I'm not just here because I actually earned it. And I learned quick. And, you know, I started off my business. I started off in the business, like running departments. So, yeah, it's been tough. Especially fashion is tough, too, because, you know, they didn't think I could understand edit. That's why I was saying it's important for me to kind of teach a little bit about editorial, because they think it is a different type of skill, and I understand the difference of how to style hair for that and style hair in the salon or style hair for a movie. And so a lot of times people will assume that. But what I don't do is I don't really listen to the word no. You know, I just keep going, or I don't pay that any attention, because I think the best thing you can do is show a person who you are and what your skills are, and success will always, you know, kind of keep people from doubting you. You know, they'll see you go on to be successful, and they see you keep pushing, and then they just kind of go with it. Yeah.
Well said, well said. All right, couple
Hello.
more questions.
Yes.
Hi.
Good day, hi.
Hi.
It's nice having you. Actually, I want to ask this question. How do you deal with some clients who come your way, the demand for a hairstyle, and you knowing that based on the head shape or the facial look, knowing that the style won't suit them?
Right.
How do you deal with convincing them with another style that you think that would suit better?
Right. Well, this is the thing. When you're dealing with clients, and you know, and that happens all the time. I'll have somebody coming in, I want to look like Halle Berry. I want to look like Beyonce. And I'll just be honest with them, but I always do it in a loving way. Say, you know, I would recommend, and you have to have confidence when you're talking to clients. That's why earlier when I said I always talk to them about, I bring them back to a professional place when I'm talking to them about other stuff, because what you want to do is start to build that rapport with them, that you're a professional, that you know what you're doing, that you're in charge and you know what you're talking about. And of course it gets easier, of course, as you know, you start to build a name or your relationship grow. But a lot of times I will give my opinion and explain why. I won't just say, no, you shouldn't have that, because sometimes that might turn them off. Well, why? You know, I'll say, I think because of your facial structure, that, you know, this would suit your hair better, and I will explain why. I think that if you do that, 9 chances out of 10, that client will listen to you. And if she doesn't, I always do this disclaimer, okay? I will do, if you insist, I will do it, you know? But, because I want to finish the job. I don't want to turn anybody away. And then sometimes they will see that they're wrong, and then the next time you'll have less problems convincing them, you know, what it is.
It's important to manage expectations.
Yes, it's a juggle.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, next question.
Hi, Kimball. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. My name is Shola. And
Shola.
I'm 14 right now. So people usually tell me that I have a lot of full hair for my age. But I've noticed that within the past 6 months, the fullness of my hair has quite decreased. So what do you think can be done to that? Okay.
You said your fullness has decreased?
Yes, decreased.
That could happen for many reasons. Do you wear your hair? Is your hair natural?
How do you wear your hair, love?
Yes.
It's all natural?
Yes.
Do you put braids or extensions in it? You just wear it just like that?
Just like this.
It could be sometimes if you have to take medication of some sort, it can cause you to lose hair.
Are 14-year-olds stressed? Could it be stress, young lady?
I was going to say stress.
You stressed, girl?
If you could be stressed.
You're young, but yeah, we know it's
Yeah,
Lagos,
but also you may want to switch up your products that you're using.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be something in the product that's causing your hair to shed. Now, when you shed, is it little pieces or is it like you see full strand? Full strand. Oh, yeah, that's definitely something shedding. Yeah. It's usually something internal.
Okay.
So I always would recommend to go see a dermatologist or someone who specializes in that, because it could be something, because usually if it's something that's damaging your hair, it's usually broken pieces. It breaks. But if it's coming from the scalp and your hair is natural, then you just might want to check into, you know, if there's any medications or something you're taking, or, you know.
Just one more question too. Does your lifestyle determine the color of dye you put on your hair? Because, for example, some people, their favorite colors might not fit them when they dye their hair. For example, like, let's say someone likes pink, and the person is extremely fair, or the person is kind of reddish in his skin color, and then it looks all weird and, you know, dirty and somehow like that. Yeah. So does your lifestyle, is it the main thing that should determine the color of hair that you do, you could dye?
Yeah. When I do a hair color for someone, again, that's why consultation is important. I'll do color based on, a lot of times I will, definitely their lifestyle. So, of course, if she's in the corporate world, I'm not going to put pink hair on her, or green, or even like a shocking blonde. I wouldn't recommend that, but I may recommend like highlights or something like that. Or I definitely love women of color with color hair, though. I love color. And I'd love to see us, you know, wear more color, because I just think it looks beautiful, right? But it has to complement your complexion.
Right.
So a lot of times I'll look at people's complexions, I'll look at the color of their eyes, and that will help me determine what colors I'll do. Color swatches and tests. And wigs are a great way to see what color works.
Yeah.
You know, you can put a wig on someone's head and see if that color suits them. You know, before, it's like almost dating without the commitment, you know? You can try it, and if you don't like it, get something else.
But are there any colors that certain skin colors should stay away from, that are a little too wash out, or, you know,
yeah,
make you look
usually
weird?
people that have like like red undertones. Warmer colors tend to look great on them. Not too ashy. I know like ashy, like blondes or ashy browns tend to not do much for them. But if you're fairer skin, like golden colors look good, but it all depends if it's more olive or more like a really lighter, paler.
You'd have to know
pinkish
your
color.
colors pretty
You have
much.
to know your
You gotta
colors.
know your colors.
They look better with more neutral colors. I never really like the hair too ashy anyway. I try to stay away from that. But I like more neutral tones. Neutral tones work a lot on most people, but some people tend to lean better in warmer tones than they do in that.
All right. So I think we have time for one last question, and then we have to thank Kim for coming. All right.
Hello.
Hi.
That was
how
fast.
are you?
Hi, Kim. Okay, my question is, what advice would you give to a client that has, she's concerned with putting so much colors in her hair, right? And she's graying a bit. So leaving her gray makes her look a bit untidy.
Right.
So she wants to know, how does she handle that? She doesn't want to put too much color so that it doesn't break off her hair. And also she wants to manage her gray such that she also looks good every time. So what does she do?
Well, a lot of times I usually recommend, because a lot of times too, so if a client has relaxer and she has gray hair, I don't want to put a permanent color in her hair, but gray is the hardest to color.
Yeah, it
and
doesn't
you're going to end up coming out with weird colors if you use temporary colors.
Okay, but she has natural hair. She doesn't have...
Oh, that's not gray.
No, she has a natural hair. It's gray. She didn't use
Okay,
there's
natural
no
hair.
relaxer on it.
Yeah. Well, you can use permanent color, and I like usually specific brands, like I use Go Well. They have a double N collection. Usually was like it's double N, which deposits gray better. There's specific colors and brands that have gray coverage. Also, I'll use semi-permanent colors to deposit in the hair, because sometimes color can dry the hair out a little bit. So it all depends on how light you're going to make it. If you're just covering gray to make it darker, you can do it with a semi-permanent. You don't need a permanent color for that. But if you want to go lighter, then you have to use a permanent color.
All right. Well, no more questions. We have come to the end.
It's over?
I know. Do you want to give us some last words?
Yes,
I
I
have some time
do.
for some last words
Well,
from
look,
you.
first up, I just want to say, again, I'm so grateful for you guys coming out. I'm so glad to be here in Nigeria. I hope that I tried to fit a lot in a short amount of time.
Oh, you did
but,
well. You did well. You
yes.
cut an entire hairstyle in like 3 minutes.
Right, I'm fast.
Impressive.
I've been doing it a long time. But I just want to thank a few people, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say thank you to Shagun, the CEO of GTBank. Thank you for having this amazing, event. Also, the staff. You guys have been lovely at GTBank. Of course, I want to thank the lovely moderator, Hala.
Aw, thank you. Kim and I were hanging out last night. She's my new best friend.
Right, we're new besties. Then I want to thank, the models and I call them my background people, my stylists. Kendra Garvey, which is my right hand. She also has helped me assist. Fifi, Fatomi. Artist by Talani, who did my makeup. And she did the makeup for the models. Amazing. And then, of course, the designer of the dresses. She is one of the local designers here.
Oh, really?
Yes, Spectrum by Aisha.
Oh, nice.
Yes, she gave the dresses. And then the models, Mabel and Sisola. So, and I want to thank you guys. You're good. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed your time.
All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. Ain't nobody leaving, so keep dancing. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So keep dancing.
all so much for coming this evening. It's been a great evening of masterclasses, and I have a very important person to bring onto the stage. So you've seen her clothing on Samantha Cameron, Michelle Obama, pretty much any first lady that is on TV, you've probably seen her clothing on them, so you know that she's a big deal, and she's also a really big sweetheart. So I would love to introduce to you this evening Roxanda Ilinjic. I hope I didn't kill the last name. Roxanda! Hey!
Something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. Don't need no reason.
Doesn't she look beautiful? Look at this dress. Jeez. I'm collecting it when she goes back, oh. She doesn't know. All right, so let's have a seat and ask you a whole bunch of questions. We have about an hour to get through. So welcome to Lagos.
Thank you.
Yeah?
What a wonderful, wonderful welcome. Thank you all.
Is this your first time on the continent?
No, I've been to Africa before, but it's first time in Lagos.
Okay, great, great. Give her a big Lagos welcome, Lagos. So Roxanda is quite a big deal in the UK, which is where you're based. That's where you have your clothing line and your home and all that. But you're originally from Serbia.
Yes, I'm originally from Belgrade, from Serbia, and I went to London about 20 years ago to finish my master's degree in fashion.
Okay, so let's start with that. I want to start with when you were back home and you were maybe trying to be a student, you were very interested in fashion, but I guess Serbia might be a little bit like the Nigerian climate now. It's not like everyone is rushing for fashion jobs. No one is, it's not the biggest profession out there. So you're interested in fashion, but you don't exactly have an outlet for your creative expression. How did you manage to work your way into getting a clothing label in London, nonetheless?
Yes, it's very actually interesting story, I must say, and also story that sometimes when you love something and believe in something so much, you simply almost can't run away from it. And I think what is interesting that being in Serbia and growing up in Serbia, I was always inspired by fashion. Even as a little girl, I was, changing my dresses and trying to. Sorry, I'm hearing a huge echo from myself.
We have to compete with those guys next to. Oh, are you talking about the feedback? Just Just a little louder.
So basically, I was always interested in fashion, but fashion wasn't, as you mentioned earlier, necessarily profession that could exist independently in Belgrade at the time.
Right.
So being young, independent designer wasn't really an option. So instead of just studying fashion, I started to study architecture, which was my second love.
Okay.
But I just couldn't simply run away from fashion because every time, instead of going to architectural lecture, I would skip to fashion lecture and buy the fashion magazines, etc. So going through those fashion magazines at the time, I discovered that all designers that I loved at the time are coming from the same school, which is St. Martin's in London.
Central St. Martin's.
Yes, and I also realized that they're all coming from the same course that is run by incredible Louise Wilson. And I realized that there can't be coincidence. There must be something that she's offering that is very, very different. And I thought I should just buy my ticket, go to London, apply for this school, because at the time, just to put things in a perspective, there was no social media, you couldn't get information as easy as you can now. So I thought that the best way to find everything out would be to go there, take exam, and just see if I can do it or not.
Wow.
And I must say at the time, it was really just a dream. I really did not expect that I'm going to get accepted, because obviously, coming from Serbia, from country that is not at the forefront of fashion, country that has many, many qualities, but maybe fashion is not something that we're strongest at.
Yeah.
And I thought at the same time, I have to take this opportunity, I have to try and do it, because otherwise I will regret all of my life.
Right.
And I'm really glad I took that chance.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Here I am.
We are all glad you took that chance. All right, so you explained that you were interested in getting into fashion, so you absorbed the magazines. You figured out where you could possibly go to school and get a degree in what you were interested in, and then you went to London. So now you're in London, and you're working on a whole bunch, but you studied architecture. So let's talk a little bit about your architectural side. Also because we know that she has a building, her store in the UK was designed in part by her and David Ajayi. Do any of you guys know David Ajayi out here? Do you people know Alara? You know Alara? The person that designed that building, that's David Ajayi. He also helped design her building in the UK. He's a big time architect. And he's, you know, one of us, so we should be proud. So let's talk about architecture and fashion. And how do you know David Ajayi? Did you guys go to school together, or?
Oh, I wish, no.
How did that collaboration come about?
So basically, when I came to London, at some point, me and my husband had this incredible space in King's Cross that was quite kind of open and beautiful space to kind of transform. And me studying architecture, I was very in tune of who the new young architects are. And that's how I discovered David. At the time, David wasn't so well known. He was already kind of known in architectural circles.
About how many years back was this?
Oh gosh, maybe 15 or even more.
Okay.
And so we approached him, and he was at a certain crossroad in his career when he was stopping to make actually private houses, and he was moving into more kind of like much larger buildings. And I remember originally his team said, listen, we are not quite sure he's going to find the time to do this, but of course come for a meeting and let's see if David might change his mind. And I think when we met, it was immediately this kind of incredible meeting of two minds who are kind of thinking the same, because obviously I studied architecture, and all my references like Donald Judd and Helio Tisica and Marcel Breuer, and I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about.
No idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. Are there any architects in the building? Oh, well, maybe he does. He's probably the only one who knows what we're talking about.
Marcel Breuer, yes. And he said, wow, those are all my favorite artists and architects, and let's try to definitely make this project. Let's try to make it alive. And it became one of the most incredible projects. The house that David designed was called The Lost House.
The Lost House.
The Lost House in a King's Cross, and it was, I think, the most copied house.
Oh, really? Well, that's
yes,
great.
So yes, that's how we met. And then many years later, when opportunity in Mount Street happened, and that wonderful space that I managed to get, and he was literally the only architect that I wanted to use for that space. And at that point, he was very busy. He had several practices throughout the world, but we go a long way back. So he said, of course, we have to do this together.
So if you guys are in the UK, you definitely have to check out her store, which is an architectural marvel as well. Okay, so still on the topic of architecture, which is what you studied, I can see that your garments have a bit of an architectural situation to them. They're like 3D. This is a great example, but she has done a lot of work, collaborations with other artists. The one I'm most excited about is Lululemon.
Yes.
So they are well known for doing stretchy athletic wear. You guys know athletic wear, gym wear. So imagine taking gym wear, normal tracksuits and hoodies, and turning it into something like this. So she had them with puffy sleeves, they were flowing, and this is gym wear. So let's talk about how you apply your background into the construction of your garments and the colors you use, because they're also quite colorful.
Yes, well, the color is something that I'm really taking from back home. We are also a country that has lots of sun and color, and a strong color. The poppy color was always there through my childhood. And when I came to London, I realized that that's not the case necessarily.
It's not very sunny in London.
No, it's not very sunny, and designers were not gravitating towards the color. And
it was too much for them?
Somehow it wasn't at the time as popular, I would say.
Okay.
So unless you were doing prints, color wouldn't necessarily be such a strong point in your collections. And I realized that that's something that is making me different, that has a very strong point of difference, and it's also very close to my heart and something that I'm very familiar with. I also love color personally, and I think that color can bring so much happiness and love in our lives. And when you put a colorful dress on, somehow your spirits are brought up too. And I started to use that purposely as a very, very strong tool in my collections, and I started to juxtaposition very unusual colors together, colors that people normally would never put together, colors that I would usually start and being inspired from art pieces or just walking in London and from even like a building sites, seeing like interesting, unusual combination. And I wanted to bring all of that in my work, and people really started to respond positively towards this. And at some point when I actually wanted to have a collection that doesn't have much color, I stopped myself and I said, no, hold on.
Something's wrong here.
Yes, something's wrong. You can't let this go. And really now I'm really known for the color, amongst other things, obviously, but I think color is probably the first thing that comes to mind.
I remember I see a lot of pinks or pink and reds, bright pinks and reds.
Yes.
Okay, so talking about your clothing, let's talk about some of the more famous people who've worn your clothing, because they're the best billboards, international billboards for your brand. So how did you go about clothing Michelle Obama? What was that like? Or did she just buy the clothes, or did you meet her, or how does that work?
Well, this is a bit of a professional secret, so I'm not quite sure I can share it with such a small audience.
Please share, tell us.
But what I can say is that, the moment that I really felt, sorry, actually, to start from the beginning, you, as a designer, you always push yourself to do better, to do more. You never think that there is a moment when actually you finally had it, or that things are going to become easier, because you always feel, I can do better. There is another hill that I need to cross and conquer. And I think the moment when Michelle actually wore me was the moment when I could just tap myself on the shoulder and say, something is happening. It seems that I am doing something right, because this was at the time when they basically when U.S. had the first state visit from Chinese president. It was during the first term of presidency, and it was really, really big moment, because Michelle chose to wear a very unknown designer that is not based in US, that is based in the UK, and she just simply fell in love with the dress. It wasn't about making a statement with who she's wearing, or doing it for any other reason than that she was really, really in love with the dress. And as I said, I watched that in my office. We were watching it on a screen, and we were all so excited and so proud. And it's a very special moment that I will remember for.
Have you had any other moments in your career where you've seen your clothing and just been like, oh, look at that? Like, for anyone, not even a celebrity, maybe even a model or a showcase that you had.
Yes, that happens quite a lot. And with many different people, you know, particularly when you see people that you don't necessarily expect. Like, for example, I had a few quite older ladies that unexpectedly were wearing me. And just seeing that on kind of very diverse group of women. My clothes is worn by everybody, women of all ages, and living geographically in many different countries and in many different climates. And I think just when you see that diversity, it's something that makes me really proud. Seeing my daughter wearing my dresses makes me really proud. So I think what is important when you see that they're getting another life, that clothes gets another life with the wearer, and that they do have a life. They're not just hanging on the rails.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, like I said earlier, you're from Serbia. We all know this. And so you have a multicultural background, a little bit more than those who were just born in the UK, because you immigrated there. And a lot of us we can attest to some of these stories of being immigrants or being foreigners in a different place and having a different mentality than those who are originally there. Does that inform the way you make your clothing? Do you think the fact that you are Serbian and you grew up there and you had all this experience there, does that make your clothing different, or do you just pull from different places?
Yes, definitely does. And I think it's very important to keep your background. Where are you coming from?
Yeah.
That's your point of difference. That's who you are. I think you should never run away from it, on the contrary. And what incredible Louise Wilson, my tutor at St. Martin's, actually taught me was to look inside of myself, to realize who I am, and to bring
it out.
Exactly, to bring it out. And it's really interesting because while I was in Serbia, because besides of architecture, I also studied Faculty of Applied Arts that has fashion as one of the subjects.
Sorry, what? Faculty of Applied Arts?
Applied Arts.
What exactly is that? Just break it down for us.
Strange name. Basically, it combines art with applied art, and applied art is actually design. So it's fashion, it's interior design, it's everything that
product design.
Yes,
okay,
exactly. So as I said, being back in Belgrade, all the time I was trying to run away what my country is about. I wanted to rebel. I wanted to create something different. I wanted to find something different. And I was very much looking at what's happening elsewhere. And then, interestingly, when I went, it took me to go back to where that elsewhere is, which is London, the place where everything starts, where you are like literally on the forefront of all ideas. And to realize that only by bringing ideas from back home, I can make a difference, and I can say something different. And I think what I do at the moment, it's very much a merge of me, as a person living in Belgrade, and me as a person living in London. So it's, you can see contradictions, very many contradictions that are joined together and are kind of existing in harmony.
Yeah. All right. So, talking about your multicultural background and just multicultural sensitivities. So, those who have been to different countries or traveled around, you know that you need to be sensitive when you're dealing with other ethnicities or people who are different from you, because we're not all the same, right? Especially, our backgrounds, our ethnicities, the countries we come from. Now, the fashion world, it seems, is very, I don't know, how do you put it? It's very one way. It's not very all-inclusive. We've had quite a few people have masterclasses, and they were talking about how non-inclusive the fashion industry can be, and then you see instances where these major fashion houses commit these huge cultural blunders. Let's see. For example, there was the issue with Dior. Dior came out with a perfume. Johnny Depp was promoting it, but they called it Sauvage. Johnny Depp was dancing in Native American cultural attire, and it caused a firestorm online. People were enraged. They thought it was culturally insensitive to the Native Americans, and Dior had to pull it down. That's one instance. We've also had instances with Gucci, for instance. I think it was earlier this year when they came out with a turtleneck sweater that had big red lips, and it was all black, which it definitely resembled some racist iconography from the US's past. Of course, that caused a firestorm, and they had to pull it down. So, what do you think can curb these kinds of mistakes? Because obviously these brands aren't trying to just market to themselves. It's a situation where they made a mistake, and someone didn't catch it before it went out to the floor. So with these big brands, what do you think that they can do to be more inclusive when it comes to different ethnicities, so that they don't make the same types of mistakes? Very long question. Whew, girl, I had to set that
Very
up.
long question. And I'm so small compared to those big brands that I guess they should be giving me advice.
Yeah, well, we don't have anyone else to ask.
Not the other way around. But I think it's really interesting what you're pointing out.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we point out those things and that we say, hey, hold on, stop. This is not right. This is wrong. Because I think the news and information are traveling very quickly now, and they travel to the furthest part of the globe from where that information originally started. And therefore, I think it's important to take things really, really seriously. And often people are unaware. They don't know that they're hurting somebody. They don't know what certain things mean simply because maybe they don't live in a town's diverse enough, or they're not exposed to diversity as much as, you know, I'm lucky to be in London. But I think, nevertheless, it's important to have somebody in-house that can monitor this, because fashion is not there to hurt people at all. And nobody wants to feel like that. And so I would just, I mean, that would be my advice, to have a person. And I think in time that we live in, it's important to have somebody that is monitoring this, and it's important to bring this to everybody to see and to protest against. And I think that lately fashion has changed a lot positively, really a lot. I've been there for more than 10 years, and I could see that change slowly happening, starting, and you know, I can see the good things coming from it. And of course it's slow. It was a long time coming. It was meant to happen much earlier, but it is happening. So now, even again, for example, going back to age, it's very normal to see older ladies, like, and when I say older, like 80 plus, 90, modeling on a catwalk, which before would be unheard of.
I've never seen that. Really? That's happening?
Yes.
That's dope.
Yes, and you know, like women in a different sizes, different genders, everything. So I think all of this is very, very good, because also we have to be aware that if the things are happening in London and Paris and Milan, it takes a long time for them then to have the effect in a smaller cities, etc.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So let's lighten it up a little bit. So your clothes are really fun and whimsical, it seems. Are you very fun and whimsical? Like, what do you do on, what do you do when you're not in your studio? Like, are you a sports buff? Or do you like to sit at home and read? Or are you like someone who like tinkers with toys and makes little, I don't know, what are you like when you're not working?
Well, I think when you're as a designer, I think that part of your personality comes through. I guess that people can probably guess slightly what I'm into.
So you are fun and whimsical.
So yeah, I guess so. I also love art. I also love to spend time with my family. I think that's a very important moment I wanted to mention, because, you know, work is one thing, but when you have fringe time, it's so important to use it with your friends and family, and I don't think they should ever be forgotten.
No.
So, yes.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk the highlights of your careers and the challenges. Let's start with the challenges. What are some of the challenges that you have had to scale through in order to get where you are? And how have you overcome them?
There are quite many, to be honest, like starting with business side, because
on the business side,
yes, because like I was trained as a designer. You spend quite a lot of time learning about the design, the processes, the fabrications, etc. But you don't learn about business.
The business,
And then when you start fashion house, you realize that it's kind of 50-50.
You need the business.
You need a business. And if you don't have that side, simply you're going to disappear sooner or later. So that was kind of like a hard learning curve, and I was lucky enough at the beginning to start with a very small brand. Well, it wasn't a brand immediately. It was just a young designer trying to say something different. And my first show had only 13 pieces, 13 dresses. And it was really organically built for quite a while. So I went through this whole process on learning on my own mistakes, my friends' mistakes, the mistakes from things that I was reading about. And then I think when, you know, I reached slightly different level, then I got help, and my lovely CEO is here with us tonight. I think that balance between creativity and business is very important.
Yeah, very important.
Yes.
The business side of fashion, like you said, it's not often taught. Do you have any advice? Because I'm sure there are quite a lot of people who are interested in fashion or fashion designers themselves, and this is something that they come up against too. Creatives, they know how to create, but the business side of how to manage things. So any advice on how to
Well, I think
help yourself?
I think it's important that you have slightly that business sense as well, like more or less, but it has to exist in some sense or form, because without that business idea, as I said, you would sooner or later disappear. It's not all about creating beautiful pieces and pieces that might hang in the museums. It's also about women wearing them. So I think you have to have that. And the second thing, it's also surrounding yourself with a team that really understands you. That
So get a team, yeah.
Exactly, that know why you're doing certain things, and you have to understand them as well. And I think that balance between those two things is very, very important, and understanding.
Yeah. So any other challenges? So there was the business side that was an issue.
The second challenge is definitely time. I think the way that fashion works, it's really, really fast. And obviously we all want to offer as many new designs and creations as quickly as possible. But that comes as a certain price, because now we have at least 4 collections a year. And that's just like a pure minimum. So you're constantly chasing your tail and making several collections at the same time. So you know, what I took, decision to actually slow this down. So we decided to go back to having 2 collections a year.
A year, okay.
And I think the different designers are dealing with it differently. But yeah, time is definitely very, very the most luxurious things in fashion as well.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the highlights of your career.
Well,
any awards?
As I said earlier, it's really, really hard to kind of pinpoint, because I'm the person that it's always striving to do better things. Seeing all the incredible women wearing me was certainly one of the highlights. Opening my store in Mile Street was another one. And I think, just kind of managing to get where I am at the moment, to create all that is created with the brand and to expand, all of those are in some way the highlights. But again, I'm the person that always likes to have more highlights, so.
Yeah. Okay, so there's been a lot of discussion about sustainable fashion. Fashion that isn't just wear and throw away. The planet is going through a whole lot. Everyone's trying to recycle, climate change, But with clothing, how do you tackle this sustainability issue? Not wasting and not using dyes that poison the fish, or I don't know. How do you guys work around this sustainability issue?
Yes, it's another issue that didn't exist before at all, and I'm again very happy that it's in a spotlight and that everybody are trying to do something. I think it's important that every brand is doing something, and we don't have to think that we need to do everything at the same time. So, for example, in a case in our case, our first challenge was to change the plastic packaging that is used quite a lot.
That's pretty good.
So
you use paper now?
No, we use degradable. The same with the plastic hangers. Also the waste of the fabric that was ordered for previous seasons that just kind of sits in somewhere, and it's kind of not used because it belonged to different seasons. We have found a way to use that as well, and also thanks to system, because system is now very open to have the fabrications, to new designs and new reinvented things with all fabrications. So that's one of the things that we are doing as well.
Recycling.
And of course, sourcing the fabrics that are sustainable is very important. So that is another element that we are doing. Making things closer to London. Which is another thing, because of course there is a carbon footprint that nobody thinks about. So sometimes you think, okay, I'm going to use that, it's sustainable, but what about the transport? So there is so much. But as I said at the beginning, it's very important that progress is made, and that everybody's making that progress, no matter how small you think you are or how big you think you are. I think it's important that we're all jointly making some changes.
Yeah. Okay, so what inspires you? What do you get inspired by? Are you on the gram looking? First of all, do you do social media? Are you a social media?
Yes.
All right. So are you inspired by things from the internet or social media? Or do you still read a lot of magazines? Or do you go to the clubs and see different, I don't know, how do you get inspiration?
I think social media is definitely not a place where I get inspired. And if I have to give advice to anybody, it would be do not get inspired by social media. Social media, it's more for information, I would say.
Okay.
And then inspiration should really come from the very, like a big pool of many, many different things. So for example, in my case, as you can tell, usually it is architecture, it is artists, it is a beautiful imagery that I would find in like old bookstore or in a movie. It can really be anything. But then I like to mix all of that with life, really.
Okay.
So I get inspired with my friends, with the people who surround me, with the nature, with just like a simple walk from my house to my studio. I think as a designer, you're constantly open to everything, and you're constantly taking all those ideas like a sponge inside of you, and then you filter them, and then it comes as something that is uniquely yours.
Okay, cool. I could sit here asking you a million questions, but we don't have that much time, and I know you guys in the audience want to ask Roxanda a couple questions, right? Anyone? All right, so let's open up the... Yeah, there we go.
Oh, this is great. Normally nobody has any questions. So
What? They'll keep us here all night. All right, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Charles.
Okay, Charles, the noise next door is quite loud, so we're competing, so use your voice, Bele.
All right, my name is Charles, and I want to ask, there is so much pressure for designers to churn out collections and pieces season after season. And most times, your best collection doesn't really translate to the greatest selling collection. So what advice do you have in terms of that to young designers who are trying to make it in industry when it comes to sales?
He's asking about what the pressure to make collections back to back. So what advice do you have for designers who want to make sales but are still really under pressure to put out a lot of product, because they put out a lot of product, maybe it doesn't necessarily sell. So any advice, right?
Yes. Well, I think that's one of the challenges that everybody are facing, no matter how big the houses are. As I said earlier, the time pressure. And I think what is very important, not to lose your craft, not to lose yourself, not to in a speed that is that the fashion is working on now. It's important to kind of slow down or stay in the speed. Everybody are different, but just not to lose what you're about and that craft. And I wouldn't advise anybody to make things just for sake of sales, either how they look or the speed or the quantity. I think it's important that every piece has its own identity. And I think one thing that I learned in my career is that you can't fool the customer. No matter what you do, when customer comes, they will feel if that garment, dress, outwear, whatever piece it is, if it has your soul, if it's really done with a love, or if it's just done for sake of being sold, which kind of never works.
Okay, all right. So thank you for that one. Round of applause. Anyone else? More questions?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Romeo Chukwumeka Butcher. I want to ask a question. Please, how can African designers be on top of their games to compete with other countries? Because I noticed that most of the things we are doing here, 80% are more like copy.
Are more like
we are copying each other, like recreating.
Okay.
So please, how can we compete, and what are the things that we are lacking that are actually making us stand behind instead of stepping forward and also taking the fashion industry like other countries?
Well, I think that's a very similar question that I had when I was living in Serbia. And I think that's probably the reason why I tried to rebel against everything that was fashionable in Serbia at the time. And I tried to create something very, very, very different, because you always feel that you're slightly behind and you're not quite where you should be. again, I think it's very important to look within yourself and not to listen what other people are saying, and to stay strong to your vision, to every season make it better and better and better. And I think that individual progress, it's much more important than conquering something overnight. So if you find your own voice, first, sorry, I forgot to say one thing. It's very important to be informed about everything that is happening in the world. So fashion-wise, exactly what went on each catwalk, even the labels that you don't like. And then once you know what's happening, then you take everything that is you, that you believe in, and you're just kind of making it better season after season after season. And I'm really a believer that if you have something special to say, it will be heard sooner or later. Sometimes it takes longer time if you're not in the middle of the world. Like I always think that London is the middle of fashion.
Yeah, it is quite the spotlight.
It does now with the social media. There is a way that those things are heard. So I think you just have to stay focused.
Stay focused and stay consistent, right?
Consistent and true to yourself.
And true to yourself. All right. Well, thank you for that one. Hand of applause. Any other questions?
Hello, good evening. My name is Tochi.
Good evening.
Thank you. My question is very close to the one he asked, and you have given us an advice. But I want to know, for your brand, can you please tell us or share with us what you do to the clothings after each season? Like when you prepare for the next season, what do you do with the remaining ones? Do you recreate them? Do you sell them do like a sales? How do you take them off your studio? How do you take them off? That is what I want to know.
Okay, so that's about the clothing.
Yeah,
right?
when it's done with the
Yes.
season, how do you get rid of the clothes?
Yes.
Do you do a sale?
Well, I
or?
only have one retail store.
Okay.
So normally my wholesale accounts have that problem.
Okay, the
what
ones
they
you
do with
give
the
your clothes
and then with my clothing, we usually go on sale, obviously,
Okay.
as all the stores.
Okay.
And then we also have like a separate sales that happen once a year.
Okay.
With kind of older seasons.
So sales are necessary, ladies and gentlemen. Reduce your price small. It's not a bad thing. Just for a little time. All right, any more questions? All right, hello.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Tochiku. I want to ask, as a professional, you're an architect that transited to fashion. So I want to know, how did you manage the transition stage? I'm a civil engineer too, and I'm crazy about fashion.
You're a
But it's
civil
challenging.
engineer?
Yes.
All right.
So I want to know, how did you transit? How did you break through? That's what I want to know.
I was studying, I was lucky to study actually two separate things at the same time, which was architecture, which I was hoping it's going to be my vocation when I graduate, and fashion, that was under Applied Arts College.
At the same
Sorry.
time.
So I did them both at the same time. So actually, I must say, for me, transition wasn't as drastic as it sounds, because I always had that fashion training as well. But it was definitely, when I came to London, it was definitely difficult to learn certain things because they were very different than in my country.
Yeah.
And then that happened through my master's degree.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. More questions.
Thank you for coming. My name is Azi. I have 2 questions to ask you.
All right. You might have to speak up. This guy
Okay,
is
I have
really
2
booming.
questions to ask you. The first one is, how do you think a brand focused on maternity workwear can successfully penetrate the ready-to-wear scene?
Ooh. Okay, one more time, because that is a very good question.
How do you think a brand focused on maternity workwear can successfully penetrate the ready-to-wear scene?
Okay, so
Maternity.
a maternity workwear brand. How do you think that they can penetrate the fashion scene?
Maternity workwear.
Maternity workwear.
Wow, interesting question.
I know, it's like, okay,
Yes.
yeah. You do have a couple months before your maternity leave, so might as well style it out in the office.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? I don't think that you should think. This is just my advice. This is another thing. I can, tell you my advice, but everybody are different, and everything is in a different circumstances. So don't take it for granted. But I think that maybe you don't have to look just as a maternity wear. I think that you can maybe broaden it up to everything, but as long as the shapes are such that they can fit, maternity and
Pregnant
women who are
ladies as
pregnant.
well.
And actually, interestingly, in my designs, I use lots of loose shapes, and I didn't necessarily think of them as maternity, but I started to get quite a strong customer base, women that are pregnant, which I think it's great.
Yeah.
But those dresses were not originally thought of as maternity at all. So I almost feel you need to approach them as something fashionable that can kind of also go and be worn by women who are not pregnant, but can accommodate pregnant women.
So that's really
Hope that
smart.
helps.
Just instead of just targeting the pregnant people, target other people, and then you get more money. Look at that.
The second question is, how did you carve a niche for yourself in a saturated industry through a digital space?
Yeah, pre-digital.
Well, it's really, yes, it's hard. Those things come with lots of work and lots of people who support you and who are around you. I think it's very important to support yourself with the people that believe in you, that are your champions, that are championing you, either helping you financially or helping you through advices or simply helping you by promoting you and wearing you. Design and your point of view, it's the starting point. You can't achieve anything unless you have something very, very incredible to say. And then also, but that's not enough. Then, as I said, also you surround yourself with almost like a support system.
Support group. All right, really good questions. Thank you for that one. Maybe a couple more. Hey, hi, lady in red.
Hi.
Hi.
Wakanda. My name is
Hello.
Fumiz. I have quite like 3 questions here. Do you make your fabrics?
Ooh,
or
good
do
question.
you source? How do you source for your fabrics? First of all, thank you.
So basically, I design all of my fabrics. When you're in that luxury sector, I think it's very important that everything is unique.
You control, yeah.
Yes. So basically, some of the fabrics, type of the fabrics I'm buying, but the colors are all bespoke. So we have we call them like a basic or a core fabrics that are like silks and wools. That exists out there, but for that particular season, we come with a color palette that is quite Roxanda, and then all those colors are specially dyed. And then also there is another section of fabrications that is completely, like for example, the one that I'm wearing, that is completely done from scratch. So that's more like a jacquards and embroidery and prints. And they are all done in-house. The original ideas start from in-house. They're kind of masterminded by me and my team. And then we develop them with different suppliers.
Okay, thank you. That answers my second question, which says, are you running a luxury brand? Obviously, you do run a luxury brand.
Yes, girl. The first ladies wear it. They only wear luxury. Hello.
Okay. What's your pricing compared to the general market?
I think we are very well priced. I think very competitive.
All right.
I think with the pricing, that's a good question because when you start as a young designer, you're kind of slightly unaware where your pricing needs to be. And you have 2 ways, either to calculate according to exactly what you spend, meaning how much the fabrics are costing, the production and everything else. And because you're small, usually this is really, really high. The price is really high because obviously you're almost making one-off pieces and everything is expensive. And that's actually how I started. But then there is a different way. When you compare yourself to the market, you make sure that what's out there, it's sitting with everybody else. And when people go, particularly now on internet, and can quickly source anything and compare the prices, that you're exactly where you should be. So we have this scheme that is called like a pricing architecture, which means that we're kind of covering different aspects of pricing that start from something that is reasonable to something that is really like literally like haute couture.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen often because I'm ready to wear brand, but sometimes I have a piece that is like a haute couture. Like once I had a dress that had 17,000
bubbles blown with air.
17,000 bubbles?
Hand-sewn onto the dress.
Who hand-sewn those 17?
Exactly.
Wow, and that was a one-off.
That was
couture
yes.
tends to be. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
and another question. What advice would you give an affordable luxury market?
What advice would you give an affordable luxury market?
Sorry, that was my question, actually.
Okay.
I was going to ask if someone wanted to target an affordable luxury market, like what advice would you give to be able to break in?
In affordable luxury. Well, I think this kind of links to this previous question and a pricing architecture. I think it's very important that you research your competition and that you know exactly what is happening on the market and what the prices are. And then, you take it from there, and then you basically make the pieces that are definitely not couture, not the 17,000 pieces of bubbles. Yes? Okay.
Thank you. Ooh, we got a lot more questions. Okay, where's the next microphone
Good evening,
holder?
everyone.
Hi, good evening.
Dr. Benedicta.
All right.
Yes, a medical doctor.
Hey, doc.
Fresh. Okay, so I wanted to ask the question concerning how you tag how you put the price tag for your fashion, but someone already asked that question. So concerning the medical field right now, I know most people don't know that medical doctors actually love fashion. So my question is, are there brands, and do you also, target the medical profession in terms of fashion? Thank you.
I don't think I necessarily target any profession. Like I don't have in my mind I'm going to design for lawyers or I'm going to design for doctors or artists. I just do what I love, and I hope that will resonate with women. And when I do and design my pieces, I always have women in mind, and I'm very much women that designs for men. I like to call myself like that because I really do always question our lifestyles, what women like to show, what they like to hide. But I wouldn't say that I target or specifically think of any of professions as such. I just hope that you guys can like it and can wear it.
And would you advise that too, not targeting specific? Would that be beneficial? Just like the other guy was asking, just targeting specific, or should you cast your net quite wide as a designer?
I think you just need to do what you love, and I think that designing is about creating, and it's not so much about the planning and
strategy.
It needs to be free. It needs to be spontaneous and intuitive.
Okay, thank you for that question.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm OC.
Hi.
I have a couple of questions to actually ask you.
Okay.
One, what makes your design unique compared to other designers in the industry?
Okay, we should be asking this some really strict fashion editors.
Should I answer this for you?
Exactly.
I can do this.
But I think it's several things. Like from my perspective, it's that element of protection and shelter. I think when you wear my designs, as a woman, you really feel sheltered and protected, and I think that's more emotional connection. And then also it's in terms of visible DNA, that it would be a color, it would be a sculpture, very bold use of colors as well, and shape. So I think those are kind of 3-4 elements that define my designs.
Nice. And I think that's quite interesting. You said a woman will feel protected and, what was the other? And sheltered. And that's an interesting way of approaching presenting yourself, Because as a woman, oftentimes you can feel vulnerable or not protected, especially if you're wearing really nice clothing or really revealing clothing. So I think that's quite poignant.
When I say protected and sheltered, sometimes when you think about my dresses, they're quite loud. They're full of color, full of shapes,
voluminous.
but you still feel that you're yourself.
Yeah.
That you are almost putting better version of yourself when you put a dress on, and I think that's very important.
I totally get it. All right, so we have time for. Okay, we'll take one more question from you, and then we have to spread it around because we have. Oh, last question. Sorry, guys, he took up all the time. Look at how everyone's looking at him. I'm just joking. We've run out of time.
Okay, so how were you able to manage your customer base during your difficult times as a fashion designer?
I think it's very important to have a strong connection with your customers, to know who they are, not to imagine your customers and think, oh, I would like this type of woman to be my customers, but actually to know exactly who your customer is. And then as long as you know who they are, I think the times are not as hard as they seem, because I think you know who you're talking to, you know what that woman wants, you know her lifestyle, and you won't have as many problems as somebody else that doesn't.
Yeah. All right, Roxanda, that was awesome. Can we have a round of applause for all the people who asked questions and all the wonderful answers? So I know time flies when you're having fun, right? We've been having a great time here with Roxanda. So great to have you in Lagos.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. And do you have any last words of advice for all of us, any of us?
I would just like to say that I'm so amazed by how incredibly glamorous women here are.
Yeah.
And just my advice would be to stay always like that, positive and beautiful, and super dressed up.
I love it. Round of applause for Roxanda this evening. Thank you so, so much for coming. Beautiful. We're gonna need a harder, give the clap, Belle. Okay. Thank you. So they're gonna